Hello, and welcome to this webinar. We are talking today about working with MALÅ Controller App and MALÅ Vision. And I believe we had a working name for this presentation too, Andreas.
Yeah, we I think ended up with the possible subtitle of "Fantastic Treats and Where to Find Them." So a little Harry Potter themed subtitle here. So we'll discuss MALÅ Controller App and MALÅ Vision today. And what's the sort of outline for the webinar, Jesper?
We will try to take you on a journey through the MALÅ workflow, and we will be using MALÅ Controller App and MALÅ Vision. Most of the time, we will go through MALÅ Controller App and show everything that is in it, a little bit new stuff, and then we'll transfer the data over to MALÅ Vision and produce some results. We will do some field work, basically what it could look like for in an everyday situation working with MALÅ Controller App and MALÅ Vision. And my name is Jesper Emilsson, and I work as product manager for the MALÅ GPR product range. I have a background in geophysics, and I have been working with GPR since 1995. Andreas?
Yes, my name is Andreas Viberg. I work with Jesper, working with product management for MALÅ GPR systems here at Guideline Geo. I have a background in archaeological geophysics, and I started working with ground penetrating radar in 2006. I was in the beginning working at the university in Stockholm and started to work for Guideline Geo in 2017. And I will also take the opportunity to start this webinar to talk a bit about Guideline Geo and who we are. Perhaps you don't know much about Guideline Geo, perhaps you've heard something about the brands MALÅ and ABEM. Guideline is the world leader in geophysical solutions. We offer instruments, software, services, and support necessary to investigate the subsurface. And as you may see here, we have been around for quite some time. Company, not Guideline Geo at that time, but ABEM was founded in 1923. So next year will be a really interesting year for the company. As I mentioned, the Guideline Geo consists of two brands. It's ABEM and MALÅ, and we'll get back to that in a couple of slides. But we're a Swedish-based company. We produce products that are developed and manufactured in Sweden. But we still have a global reach. We have local offices around the world, and on top of that, a wide distributor network covering more than 80 countries. We're currently around 90 employees worldwide, working together with our distributors and other partners to help our customers. We also have a close collaboration with our customers and also with universities and other partners, which we will see in a few seconds. But before that, here's just a map of where we are situated. Me and Jesper are working from Umeå, from the development office. The headquarters of Guideline Geo is situated in Stockholm, Sweden. And further up north in MALÅ, we have the production facilities and the factory. But as you can see from this map, we have offices ranging from Kuala Lumpur in the east to Salt Lake City in the west. I've already mentioned this, but Guideline Geo consists of two different brands, and we are dedicated to guide users all around the world to map the subsurface with our unique combination of solutions, know-how, and workflows. And in the case of ABEM, we're predominantly working with resistivity, seismics, and TEM methods for geophysical prospection. And on the MALÅ side, we are mostly working with ground penetrating radar equipment. I mentioned close interaction with customers and trusted partners over the world. This is just a short list of some of the partners that we are currently working with or have been working with in the past. And the list also extends to academia, of course. We are collaborating with lots of universities and academic institutions over the world. And again, just a short list of different academic institutions and universities that we have been working with. Okay, let me start this webinar by talking a bit about the MALÅ Workflow. When you're serving with the ground penetrating radar system, you inevitably need to go on site to collect some data, and that can take different amounts of time depending on the equipment that you have available and the workflow that you're working with, basically. And a pretty traditional workflow could look something like this. You would go to the site, collect data using your ground penetrating radar system. You would then most likely collect some kind of metadata. That could be images, markers, core data, most likely with other units that you have to combine with the GPR. You then export your GPR data onto a USB stick. You get that USB stick back to the office. You copy it off the stick onto the computer. You will most likely have a software license dongle that you will have to insert. You will analyze, process the data, add the metadata that you collected while in the field. You have to interpret your data. Then you will export it to, let's say, for example, AutoCAD, Google Earth, or ArcGIS as 3 examples. You would write a report in a word processor, calculate the time spent on the project, invoice your customer, and then you can go home. But quite a lengthy workflow and a lot to do while in the field. The MALÅ workflow, which we would like to propose, is significantly shorter and more effective. You would go to the site. You would use the MALÅ Controller App to collect your data. Then we are making it possible to interpret your data on site with the aid of MALÅ AI. And while measuring, we now have also integrated features where you can add metadata like voice markers, photographs, text, and annotations, screenshots. All of that will be collected while you're in the field with the same unit, and it will be instantly tied to your profiles and your project. From the field, you directly upload this project to Molovision, which is our secure cloud storage. And if you want, you can work with Molovision on your tablet in the field, filter your data, adjust your interpretations, or you can send that off to a colleague sitting by a computer waiting for your data to come in. Then you can use Molovision to export your interpretations, your data, metadata, or use the report tool to instantly create and send a field report. And then you can go home. So basically, we're working with optimizing the workflow that will minimize the time you need to spend on projects and will help maximize the project margins. And we're always collaborating with customers and partners to find even more shortcuts and features that will make the workflow even more efficient in the future. The purpose of this webinar is to give you an insight into how that workflow would look like in real life. And I would therefore like to hand over to Jesper to talk a bit about the MALÅ Controller App and how you can collect data in the field.
Thank you, Andreas. As you are mentioning, the first thing in the workflow that you just described was go to site, and that's where we are. This young man, he's standing in the site, had just packed up the gear and started up the equipment. So just before collecting data, you view the MALÅ Controller App maybe for the first time. And this is what will greet you once you've started up the Controller App. It will basically be a short slideshow showing the latest features released. And since we're updating a few times a year at least, this will be updated as soon as you upgrade the controller app. So have a look at that. If once you pass that, you come to the start page. The start page is, well, in essence, we can tell a few things. We can see that we have a GPS connected. We see the battery status. We see that our antenna that we are using is the EL core. But I would like to focus on the 4 buttons centrally, or centrally to the right of this screen, to the left, sorry, of the screen. We will also of course, go through the hamburger menu where you have a lot of hidden things, but we will wait until we've started up the project. Molovision, this is the button where you upload your data to a secure cloud service, and where you transfer your data to Molovision. The project manager is where you can view your projects, the ones you've stored or collected data with before, using the same tablet. And this is what it looks like. If you press this, you can see the various projects, the project names, the size, the date. There is some information on the right-hand side that also shows you how many profiles there are in the project and how the settings were set when they were collected. You also have the option to delete the project if you don't want to keep it anymore. The next button above the project manager is the 3D project or grid project. We will not talk anything about the 3D project today. We will focus on a project in 2D, which is what our customer most of the time are using. So if you press 2D projects, the program will ask you to create a new 2D project. We call this webinar 2022, and then underneath that, it shows what market template will be used in this project. And if you want to change this, you need to change it here, because you can't actually change it later in the project to a different market template. We press OK, and then we will be presented with the measurement window, or the acquisitioning part of the program where you collect data. And at this point, this is normally, if you have used the equipment a few times, your settings will be saved, your work environment will be set according to what you have used in the past. So you probably feel pretty secure to start your measurements, and that would be just to press start and start collecting data. But in this webinar, I would like to take you on a tour through this software to see the various things that are sometimes hidden under menus, and how this MALÅ Controller App actually works, and how it can help you further. I'd like to direct your attention down to the right-hand corner, where we have the name of the project that we just created, Webinar 2022. It looks a little bit funny because we haven't actually collected any data yet, but the form is basically project name, profile name, and within the brackets there are the total number of data profiles or profiles that's been collected in the project so far. And if you tap the project name, you can change the active profile, in this case from profile 1 to profile 2. If you tap the profile name, you can see a little bit more about how the data was collected. You can see the serial number and firmware number of the antenna that we've been using. And you can also optionally delete this data set or this profile from this project. If we travel across the screen to the left, from the project name that we just looked at, we will see the background velocity that has been set. This is the default velocity that is set to a new project. And this is one place you can tap this, and you can change it through this floating palette that comes up. And this floating menu is always accessible. You can access it at any time, but you can set the velocity in many different ways, and you will see this once we go through this software. If we travel further to the left, at the bottom part, we can see the symbol for what positioning device we are using. In this case, it's an RTK GNSS solution receiver. And if I tap that, I will get this information that shows the status of the receiver. Next to that, we have the battery indicators that shows that we have 2 active batteries in our antenna at the moment. It doesn't give any information about the tablet itself, but that you can see in other places. This is the GPR part. Next to that is the name of the antenna that we've been using, the type EL core, and that it's connected. Okay, now we're returning to the hamburger menu that I said we need to look at after we've created the project. We have created the project, so let's open the hamburger menu and have a look at that. We are in the measurement part of the software, and that's why it's highlighted. We have already passed the start page because that was the first one you saw. So I won't go back to that one. So let's have a look at the settings. And before we start collecting, we can change this. And it gives information about, it's actually divided into three blocks. It's measurements, positioning, and display. And the first part is where you set things that will affect your data and how you collect it. You can set the number of samples, or you could estimate the depth a target depth that you want to look at, what mode, what a positioning mode you're in. Normally that would be distance measures because that's many advantages, but it could be time, it could be a manual triggering too. The encoder type, and you can manage your wheels if you have different types of encoders and you might have a rough terrain card, for instance, or something else. You need to have a specific encoder type, encoder for that. The trace interval, important thing to remember, and the zero doubt. Next is positioning, which tells you it's where you decide on what type of positioning system you're going to use. This is also where you pair possibly an external device like a GNSS RTK or a total station with the tablet before you start working. It's also you could also collect with using the internal GPS in the antenna itself if it has one, or no positioning at all. The display doesn't affect data, it's just for your whatever you prefer. If you want to see the vertical axis in depth or time and what units to use. And again, here's another place where you can set the background velocity or the default background velocity. Okay, let's go back to the hamburger menu and let's select the next on the list, which is help and support. I'd like to have a look at this because this is really the preferred way that or the best way for you to contact us, because if you have an issue and you're in the field and you have a project that you're dealing with that might even cause you some problems, or there is something, you can attach a project, you can write a question and send it in to us, and you will get a support, and it will be a support errand through our system, and that is the most efficient way of handling this. There's also product support, and there's a link. If you have an internet connection, you can go to the product page, you can review the quick guide, and you can look at some troubleshooting as far as connectivity, to mention a few. And then it's the about page. This is important information, app information, that is telling you what version of the app you're using. In this case, you can see that it's 10.206.22 test. It's not an officially released version of the software. It's the test version that we are using right now to make sure everything works before release. Yeah, it works well. You can also look at new features if there are, and it's basically the same as you were presented with initially when you saw the slideshow. The antenna information, antenna firmware, and serial number, which are important information if you look for support. Okay, that was the hamburger menu. Let's return to measurements and look at the rest of the information. And I have pretty much saved the best to last, because now we are continuing this circle towards the toolbox. Now this is hidden under this tab to the right-hand side of the screen. So if we tap this, this will relieve the toolbox. reveal the toolbox. And it includes a few tools. Some of them might be new to you. Hyperbola fitting, of course, that is an essential tool for estimating the velocity in the ground when you are collecting data. Handy to have, and again, this is a place where you can set the velocity. We have MALÅ AI, this completely amazing new tool that works extremely well, especially in certain environments, and the various types of tool settings you can do with this. This is something that I normally keep on screen when I collect data. I used to change the score threshold so that I actually let it try to detect the things that are relevant to me for that particular survey. It also has a settings menu where you can reduce the depth or search depth to make it work a little bit more efficient for certain types of service. You also have a standard filter menu. No surprises here. You have marker shape and size. You have marker colors that you can use, and you have annotations, which was included in the last release. And I have to say, I really like this part. I really like these annotations, especially, well, I like the photo and audio. Screenshot and text I could live without, but the photo and audio, with the short time that we've had it so far, I just find it amazing. I can't, audio, I don't know how I survived out in the field without that before, because just recording short sound bites of what I'm doing, what I'm standing around or anything, it really works well with me. And the tablet makes it possible to integrate the camera in the tablet, making it possible to take field shots. This is invaluable. I find it so, especially if I'm transferring my project to somebody else, or if somebody transfers a project to me, if they're taking photos, they have collected metadata, and they have done all this work, it just helps me so much to do a good interpretation. So the last thing in the toolbox is to view all annotations. Okay, we haven't really collected any data in this project yet in this presentation, but if we had, it could look like this. And if we view the annotations, we will be presented with the annotations we have collected, and they are separated. I've chosen, you can set this in different ways, but I've chosen to set it in this particular way where I list the annotations that are related to a certain profile. So if I had 10 profiles, I would have the profile name and then the various annotations that belongs to each one of the profiles. If I'm not collecting data and I collect and I take annotations, you can do, and then it will be placed chronologically in between the profiles. But there are various ways you can sort this. This is one of the pictures that we collected yesterday, just outside the office here in Umeå. Yeah, that was just an example. We're going to get back to that. So I close this. These are the floating palettes or floating menus that we can use, and you can open them and you can put them anywhere you like while you're collecting data. All of these tools are always available when you're collecting data at any time. And it doesn't matter if the toolbox is open or not, you can still have them there. And the software remembers what tools you have been used in the last project or in the last time you collected data. So if I would close down this project now and create a new one, I would have exactly this look as I open it up for the first time. This is something I prefer this kind of clean look, but because I'm such a neat and tidy person. There are two more buttons here. There are one down in the right corner. It's the surface marker, which is, these are kind of sort of permanent tools that we always have on the display because they are used quite frequently, and you tend and so the surface marker is something that our customers, including myself also, I tend to use quite a bit when I do a project. And there is also a map icon, which creates where you can have assistance of moving maps as you're collecting data. This is not released yet, so this is something we're testing right now. and it works very simply. You could tap this little button and you would get either a full display of a map, and you would see where you're walking, or the profile. It would be plotted on this map. It will display your annotations, where you've taken them along the profile. It will also show you where you have placed markers. It will not display the AI markers, because it might be something we consider further on, that you have the option to do so. But right now, it shows only the markers that you've converted to real, where you have taken a decision to convert an AI marker to something real, or placed your own marker. You could also have a split screen where you have the moving map to one side and the data on the right-hand side in this case. Yeah, or you can collect data without maps at all. I actually, since we just started testing this, I was a little bit unused to this. So when we collected the data, which I will show you soon, I forgot to activate the map until the very end. But I will quickly get used to it, I think. Okay, so let's start the survey. This is a movie showing a very short, brief data collection. We will collect data. We will look at the data as it comes in a screen just next to this, and then we will transport the data to. I will transport the data from the field to Andreas at the office, and he will continue in Molovision. Here we go. There I am, starting, set up the system. I just need to check a few settings, or in this case, I think that I've collected the first trace already, so I will add some annotations. I like to do this as I start up. It's good to see where I started. It's good to see where I stopped my survey or a profile line, and I'd like to see the environment in which I am collecting data. Always good to have. So I have taken a habit to collect these photos. Most of the time, I think I would take these photos as I am, while it's still in the holder on the EL core in particular. Then I see the antenna in situ, which is always good to see when you try to interpret something. Okay, now we've started the measurements. We see the data coming in, and the AI markers are showing up. I have set it's fairly sensitive, the AI marker, and I like to do that. I like to keep it a little bit sensitive, and then in the end, I reduce it to look at specifically the features that I'm looking for in my data. And so I will do this time too. You can also see that in the data there are some drop icons at the very starting point. Those are the annotations that we took, and I will take another couple of annotations shortly. But first, I am looking at the sensitivity for the AI. I increase the score threshold so that I remove some unwanted responses, and I can see that, okay, those are the ones that I'm pretty much looking for. And then I'll take another photo, and here you can actually see the map to the left. Completed measurements at Rälsvägen, Umeå. Today's time is 11:57 a.m. and it's the 6th of July, 2022. Okay, that was apparently me. And then I adjust the data a little bit, and just to get a clearer image of the responses. And then I convert some of these AI markers. This goes surprisingly fast. You need to try this because it actually works really nice. And this is in real time as I'm standing in the field. I convert a few of these markers, and some of them are obviously wrong. The two electric power cables I think are pretty good, but the water main that is underneath, I just let it be. I'm sending off this data to Andreas in the office, and he's such a good guy at this that he will correct all my mistakes. I trust him completely. So I don't bother about that. I'm just going to mark it up saying, okay, this is what I'm looking for. These are the utilities I want to have mapped out. So even happened to delete the marker here. You can see that one was missing on one of the electric cables here. I happened to delete it, but I'm sure that Andreas will pick that up. Andreas will pick that up and correct for it later. So in any case, once I've done that in this short test, I close the project. And then I go back to the main menu or the start menu, and I choose Molovision and export to Molovision and my data. I choose the one that the data we just collected, and here we are in Molovision. So I will now hand it over to Andreas in the office, who will take care of Molovision and the treatment of the data I just collected.
Thank you very much, Jesper. Yes, I will take this opportunity to talk about what's coming as the next step. So in this case, logging on to Molovision, which you, as I mentioned earlier, can do either from the tablet in the field or upload it while you're in the field and send it off to someone at the office. So now I've reached the login screen for Molovision. I will log on to this, and when I've logged on, you can go to open projects, and everything that's been uploaded will appear in this view. So I simply click the webinar project that Jesper sent to me, and voila, everything is as Jesper sent over to me. You can also see in the lower part of this image the small pop-up or pull-up menu that is visible right now. There are the images and the audio marker that Jesper has created while out in the field. You can also see the location of these in the profile as the small droplets in the top leftmost part and top rightmost part of the profile. If you have multiple profiles, if you have lots of images and lots of annotations, as you I hope you can see, it's pretty small on the screen, but it's an arrow on the images and on the audio markers in the list at the bottom. If you click this one, it will take you directly to the profile where the marker has been added, and you can, in that sense, jump between your different images and markers in a very easy way. Obviously, you can move to the sitemap as well. This view is similar to what you would see while using the map functionality in the app. You will see the profile, you will see the markers that's been added. You would also see the annotations that's been added to the project. Since these interpretations were made in a bit of a rush, I wanted to go in and edit them in Molovision. This is quite easily done with the edit marker tool. So if you're in the 2D tab of looking at your profiles, simply click one of the markers, and the toolbox on the right-hand side will change from being what you see right here into an edit marker toolbox where you can change the type, the color, and the size of the markers. So very easy. So now I've adjusted all of the markers that Jesper sent me and moved them slightly. One of the benefits of Molovision is that when you have markers of similar type and color, it will all tie together to form polylines when you move over to the 3D view. So if we quickly jump over to the 3D view, you can here see the outline of the profiles, and the markers have been added to each sort of crossing here over the footpath, and Molovision ties all of this together into some nice polylines which shows the location of the conduits in the ground. And if we move over to the sitemap, I know it's a bit zoomed out, this image. I hope you can see it. The polylines are obviously still there, so it's quite easy to take the necessary screenshots or snapshots that you would like to save. We have different map options. You can use open layer maps, or you can use Google Maps. If you decide on going with Google Maps, then obviously we have the Street View mode. So you can drop down into the Street View image, and you can also view the markers on the Street View image, which is a really nice feature. Obviously, this isn't sort of complete walkthrough of everything that's available in MALÅ Vision, but there are a few things I wanted to highlight. We are regularly making improvements to MALÅ Vision, and one of the latest improvements or additions has been improved export functionality for your interpretations. This is sort of the view that will greet you when you click the Data tab, or the Export and the Data tab. You will then be presented with the option of either exporting your data, your interpretations, or your snapshots and images. One thing that I would like to highlight is also the fact that you can add multiple rows of export items. So if you want to export all of the above, or even more combinations than I've shown here on screen, simply press the plus sign in the left lower part of the export window. That will give you another row, so you can add an item to this specific row. If you want to remove something, just simply press the minus sign to the right. That will remove the row. And all that's sort of in this view, in the export sort of window, will end up in a zipped folder. And for practical reasons, this zip folder can then quite easily be just dropped into the upload window of MALÅ Vision again, should you want to reopen that specific exported project again. You can also see that we have a small cog wheel for the interpretations. And that just simply means that there are additional options that you can set. In this case, as it's interpretations and you want to export markers and polylines as a DXF, we have also introduced the possibility to set the desired map projection that you would like to output your data to. So simply click the cogwheel. This window with export settings will greet you. You can start typing away the name of the projection, and it will automatically jump to that location in the list. As we are in Sweden, as we are collecting data here outside the office, I decided to search for SweRef 99, which is the sort of Swedish grid. I went for the SweRef 99 TM in this specific case, just to show how the export works. When you export it and then open it up in AutoCAD or in a compatible Autodesk viewer, it will give you the location of the profile, your interpretations, both the markers and the polylines. And also, if you have a look at the lower right corner, you can see that it's now moved away from the lat long and into the desired map projection that we went for when we set the export. Another feature that we would like to highlight as well is the folders feature that we have added. One thing that you can look for is the start page of MALÅ Vision. You will get the latest and the recent changes as a list. And in this case, you can also, we'll have a look at the folders improvements that we've made. So if we go to the projects overview, there is a plus sign on a folder. You can click that and it will create a folder. You can name that to whatever you want, and then simply drag your project, in this case the webinar project that we've been working on, into that specific folder. You click it to open it. You can edit the name of the project or the folder by simply clicking the three dots and changing the name into something different. Do you want to move that back up again? then you simply drag it onto the sort of root folder of your projects, and it will reappear at the top level. To delete a folder, simply click the delete button. Molovision obviously is automatically updated by us as it's a cloud software, so you will always be using the latest version. When it comes to MALÅ Controller App, we are continuously making it better, upgrading it with new features and functionality. But you would then need to go in, log on to our webpage and download the latest versions of the app. And we highly recommend that you install the new versions as they become available. So keep looking at our website for new releases. We also release new antenna software from time to time, and the installation of these antenna software versions can also easily be done through the MALÅ Controller App. As Jesper has mentioned, the latest release of the MALÅ Controller App includes the annotations feature. So this is available on our website. It includes the screenshot functionality, the photos, the audio markers, and the text. And it's the 10.205.12 version, which requires Android 10 or later. And the next coming release, which is currently in testing to iron out the final details, is map functionality, as we have seen. So that will be coming soon. So keep a lookout at the webpage for some release notes and some new information. If you haven't tried Molovision yet, please log on to molovision.guidelinegeo.com to test it out. You will then receive a Molovision community license or subscription, which is completely free of charge. It will give you 50 megabytes of storage to test the software. And there will be a demo project available for you to play around with. Should you not be a user of MALÅ equipment or one of the formats that we are currently compliant with. If you want a bit more storage and some other really nice features, you can bump this up to a Molovision Premium subscription, which will, among other things, give you 100 gigabytes of storage for your projects. And this can either be done through the webpage directly where you sign up on the Molovision site, or you can contact us and buy a prepaid code for different specific time periods. We haven't forgotten about academia. We have a special offer for academia. If you are working at an academic institution or a university, you can contact us to get your university upgraded into Molovision University Free, which is also a completely free of charge service. This will give you and your colleagues 100 megabytes of storage for free, available for anyone signing up from that university with the same email suffix as has been registered with us. For the university subscriptions, we also have a premium tier, which is called MALÅ Vision University Premium. It's sort of a site subscription or license, which will give any user at the university a 5 gigabyte storage space. And yeah, if you're interested in joining the Molovision family, sign up and test it at molovision.guidelinegeo.com, or get in touch with anyone at Guideline to help you out and get you started. Okay, I'll now hand over to Jesper again, who will be talking a bit about why choosing Guideline Geo.
Well, if this presentation hasn't convinced you already to come to Guideline Geo, I have a few other reasons why. Our value proposition, among others, we are developing Swedish quality products. We make a complete solution for all GPR users. We try to find intuitive and comprehensive solutions. We have one of the big benefits with Guideline Geo, and is the fantastic partner network or worldwide coverage. We have support distribution and a network of really good people that service our customers. And I'm really happy having been part of building this network over time. Some of my really best friends are in this network, and they are amazing people, and they know a lot. We guide our users all around the world to map the subsurface with unique combinations of solutions, know-how, and workflows. And we're constantly trying to find better ways of doing, finding solutions to common problems. We work together with people, just as Andreas has mentioned before, with academia and with various companies all around the world. That's usually how the development starts, when we get in touch with somebody that has a different type of problem or a special type of situation, and together we can find a solution, and then we try to develop this. I think that throughout all this, we have unsurpassed customer value. We believe that we offer the best investment value of any supplier of near-surface geophysical equipment. Service and support has always been close to heart for us. Even back in the days when we didn't have the structure we have today in Guideline Geo, I think we did a pretty good job in service and support to our customers, and that was one of the reasons why MALÅ, which is the part of the company that I come from, was doing well. This has improved greatly the last few years, and we have many more customers today. I mean, we handle thousands of customer interactions every year, and so far this tells us we have about 96.3% customer satisfaction, which we find to be very a good value, a good number. We wanted to go even higher, but we will always try to find the great solutions to help our customers to be successful. The distribution network I've already mentioned, it's global. We have a global presence, and this is one of the big strong points. We have 90 employees. They spread around the world, 6 offices, employed personnel on 5 continents, and maybe the best part is that our resellers. The resellers are doing a great job, and some of them are just excellent people to be with. They always think about the customer, and they do an amazing job. I'd like to mention this too, that we have local and in-house production. We do all the development ourselves. Now all of it is done in Sweden. We were spread out a little bit before, but we have taken everything back, and everything is manufactured and tested locally in Sweden also. We want to keep that quality at a level that we are proud of, at least having control over it. And also that helps us with timely deliveries. We are very proud of our history of innovations. We have always innovated, and we have delivered a lot of world firsts through the years, and we take pride in this. As I mentioned before, we tend to, most of the innovation are driven by good ideas internally or externally, but many times they're in close collaboration with customers and partners. We want you to know that if you invest in our solutions, we will still be here, we will still be around, and your investment will grow with time. This is part of the team a few years ago, that at a mountaintop where we like to be. And if you haven't been, if you're not acquainted to our products yet, as Andreas is saying, Molovision is a great place to start. Everything is there, and it's all free. You can test it and try it, and if you have any ideas on how we can improve things, or if you have any ideas on how we can do something better or help you solve a certain problem, don't hesitate to contact us.
Okay. Thank you everyone for listening in. really happy to see all of you, even though it's summertime and you might be better off enjoying the sunshine outside. So thanks for connecting and have a fantastic week.
Thank you. Have a great summer.